I think really like what escapism comes down to is you're escaping your mind's interpretation of everything, right? Because it's like the reason that all of that stuff is overwhelming, or the reason that the feelings are overwhelming, the stress is overwhelming, is it's not necessarily the feeling. Because like if you're completely with the feeling, you drop the narrative, you drop the idea that it's bad, you drop the resistance to the feeling, and you just sit with it, it's like not even bad. You know what I mean? It's just neutral. Like, okay, maybe it is a little unpleasant, but it's not like this crazy thing that you need to avoid. You know, it's supercharged by the mind. The stories, the idea that this is something that I don't want, or the idea that this is too much, or the idea that there's all these things I have to do, and it's really what you're escaping is not the pure feeling, or let's say the pure reality that there's things to do, but it's your mind's judgment. It's your mind's interpretation. That's what makes it heavy, is when your mind is involved. There's like there's an interpretation attached. There's a story attached. Because it combines with, it kind of combines or creates even the feelings and perpetuates them, and it keeps you stuck in them. And that's unpleasant. That's what's really unpleasant, is the being stuck in a mode where you're really trying to avoid, or something is made out to be just like too much, terrible even in your mind. So like for me, when I'm thinking about all of these things that I gotta do and how overwhelming it is, now it's like I'm creating all of this resistance, and I'm creating this idea that it's so hard or that it's so bad to do that. And so that's what's causing all of the struggle. You know, it's when the mind seeps in. But if you can come back to the present moment, come back to yourself, and you just feel like, okay, if there's some emotion there, you just notice it as it is. You feel it in the moment. You let go of the story, you let go of the narrative and the interpretation. It's not this thing that needs to be escaped. You know, it's not this heavy thing. It's just what is right now. You know, because if you're completely with what is, if you're completely present, there's peace there. You know, it's like whatever you're facing, whatever you're dealing with, isn't that bad. It's not that unpleasant. Like, there might still be a sense of like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable, this isn't ideal. But if you're just truly there and you're truly with it, you don't feel small. It doesn't feel overwhelming. You're connected to life. You're connected to the present moment. And with that, there's like a huge feeling of peace, at least to some extent. And it's in that peace, you're reassured that like I'm okay, and I'm gonna be okay, and everything's gonna be okay. So, escapism. What you're really escaping when you're with escapism is yourself. It's your ego, really. It's the combination of perhaps a feeling as well as your mind's interpretation of it, or the story or the narrative around it. And that's what makes it like this heavy thing. Oh, there's all these things I gotta do. Now it's overwhelming. Or like, oh, I feel sad, and you're dwelling in the sadness, and you're telling yourself the story that is causing the sadness, and you're just kind of like stuck in that. It makes sense. It makes sense to want to escape that. But I would argue that what you're escaping, I mean, I've already told you. We've discovered this. What you're escaping isn't truly your life or the feeling. It's your mind's interpretation of it all. It's the story. It's the narrative. Because when you just face it, dude, when you're present, when you're just with the moment, dude, it's not scary. It's not really hard. It's peaceful. But the thing is, we don't always realize or remember that that's all it takes. That's what we really need, is to invite presence into our being, stillness into our being. Because, yeah, like, I'm not going to say that that's all that there needs to be, because perhaps there is something else to do. Maybe there's something to look into within yourself. Maybe there's something there's a belief, or there's some sort of limitation that's kind of has a hold on you. Or perhaps there's an emotion that just needs to be felt, maybe even looked into, like what's causing this, or what's at the root of this emotion, Maybe there's something that your intuition is wanting you to do. There's something your intuition is telling you, but you're not listening. You're not following it. And so naturally, you're going against yourself. You're going against your true self. And inherently, you're going to feel bad. You're gonna feel off, and you're gonna want to escape yourself. you know? So I think it starts, of course. It's not always just going to solve everything by inviting presence, but it's the tool, it's the mode of being which is going to dissolve any issues, any conflict, anything that's off in your life or within you. You can start to look into things from a place of just curiosity and non-judgment. Because once you have that presence, you have that peace, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be okay, or I am okay. It's gonna be okay. But I also notice that this is still here, or there's still something kind of off, or something to look into. And then from that place, it's just you're gonna more easily dive into it, get clarity on it, understand what's going on. And then you might gain an insight or two, and you'll be able to, feel what needs to be felt, let go of whatever needs to be let go of, and then move forward with more peace, more clarity, more authenticity, just your true self. So I think I just need to remember. It's hard though in the moment to remember how to access presence, or that it's actually what you want or need. I think because you're in your ego, you're in your mind when you're escaping. There's not a lot of presence. There's not a lot of awareness in the midst of escapism. And so I don't know if there's necessarily an easy way out of it once you're already escaping, other than just making a habit in life to pay attention to how you're truly feeling and what's going on in your life, checking in with yourself, just practice inviting at least some level of awareness, and then you might realize, oh, like, am I escaping right now? Am I avoiding myself? Am I avoiding life? Am I split? What's going on with that? And then maybe have a reminder, like, that, like, okay, all I'm really avoiding is like my ego, like my mind's interpretation of this thing, because reality itself, if you're fully present with it, if you're fully there, let go of the narratives, let go of the stories, let go of the judgments, you're just with it. It's actually quite peaceful. It's more peaceful than escaping. It feels better. You feel like you're back in connection with yourself and life. You're back in alignment. So yeah, you just kind of got to remember, like, I'm not escaping what I think I'm escaping. I'm not really escaping the feeling. I'm not really escaping this thing going on in my life or the life situation. What I'm escaping is my mind's interpretation of it and all that that goes along with that, all of the negative feelings and the judgments and everything that goes along with interpreting things a certain way, being stuck in your head. And it's also like, it's just not, it's like not pleasant. But as soon as you bring true awareness, true presence, you're just with what is, instantly peace comes back. At least some degree of peace. And from there, it becomes easier to deal with and see what's truly going on. You know? And then it's easier to start moving forward from that place of peace, from that place of clarity, and stay in connection with yourself. And it's going to be truly healing, truly productive. So escapism works, or let's say escapism has a place when you don't have access to presence, when you don't have access to stillness, or you don't know how to access that. But once stillness or presence is able to be accessed, that is going to be preferable to escaping. I should say, you may not even escape to begin with, because as things arise in a state of presence, in a state of stillness, it's not going to turn into this heavy thing. It's just, it is. There's something that needs to be done, thought about, felt, you do it. But you drop the resistance, you drop the judgment, you know?